Hi guys, you're welcome back to a brand new tutorial. Today we'll be learning how to make the simple DIY top. So let's get started. You're welcome back from that short break. So basically you need all these sewing tools to be able to draft the pattern. We are going to be drafting a simple basic bodice pattern without the bust darts. And I have my paper unfolded ready. This is my shoulder line, then my shoulder to chest line, shoulder to bust point, shoulder to my half length, and shoulder to the length of the top. You could actually make yours longer. I will drop the link to the basic bodice tutorial in the description box in case you're confused on how I got all those lines. Now on the shoulder line, I'll be marking half of my across back measurements. Same thing on the chest line. Now still on the chest line, I'll be marking quarter of my bust circumference measurements plus 1 inch for side seam allowance. Now straight on to the waistline, I will be marking quarter of my waist circumference, okay, plus 1 inch for dart intake, and then 1 inch for side seam allowance. Then on the hip line, I will mark quarter of my hip circumference measurement plus 1 inch for side seam allowance. So basically, it's just a fitted top with normal waist dart. You don't need bust dart for this particular bodice, but I'll still drop in the description box the link to the basic bodice tutorial. Yes, you understand better how I got all the chest line and the rest. So I'm just blending up the sharp edges. Okay, so now I'll connect the shoulder and chest line together where I marked the across back measurements like so. Okay, now we want to get our bust span. It's either you place a tape from one nipple to the other, or you divide your bust circumference by 4 and subtract 1.5. So for me, 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. 9.5 minus 1.5 is 8. Now the paper is unfolded, so I'll be marking 4. So basically, the distance from one nipple to the other for me is 8. Now I'm marking 4 on the bust point line, the waistline, and the hip line, and I'll just connect them together like so. Then your dart should start 2 inches after the bust point line, so I'll just mark 2 inches like this, and it should also terminate 2 inches before the hip line. I've also marked it. Now on the waistline, I'll just mark my normal waist dart, half inch on both sides. Like I said, it's not a bustier and it's not a bodice with bust darts, just a regular simple bodice. So I'm constructing my dart like so. You can see. Let me just shade it out for a proper illustration. Okay, so this is my dart, right? We'll go ahead to construct the neckline. For the neckline, average, you can do 3, but I'm doing 3.5. For shoulder line, I'm coming down by 1 inch from the shoulder line. I'll link that to the tip of the neckline like this. Then for the neck depth, okay, before we do that, let's do the armhole. I'll find the midpoint. Okay, then come in by 3/4. If you're confused about constructing the armhole, I would also drop a link in the description box. I've done a tutorial on how to draft a perfect armhole. So I think you should watch that tutorial so that you can understand what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to avoid repetitions of what I've said before in previous tutorials. Now, I want to construct my neckline. For the neck depth, okay, 3 is fine, but I really don't like my top stroking my neck, so I will just do either 3.5 or say 4. Yeah, I like my freedom. I don't like, choking myself in the name of fashion. So I'll just construct my neckline with my French curve. Okay, so this is my front pattern. I'll be adding half inch seam allowance to the armhole, the shoulder slant, and the neckline. I have my 1 inch seam allowance on the side seam already, then half inch to the lower part of the hemline. So I have cutouts. Now I have another pattern paper under. We're going to be using that to draw the back pattern. Meanwhile, this top doesn't have a zipper, So the difference between the front and back pattern will be that the neckline for the back is going to be higher. Okay, so you can see that the paper underneath, I have not drawn the neckline yet. Now with my tracing wheel, I'll be tracing out the dart to the paper under, which I have done. This is it. This is the second paper. So this is one very good function of your tracing wheel. You trace it out and then draw the dart. Now for the back neck depth, I'm doing 2. It's not a shirt, and I need it to be able to pass through my neck, so this is 2, but the neck width is still the same thing. Okay, all right. Then one more thing, for the back neck depth, you can actually come down more than this. There is no hard and fast rule about it. Just get the concept behind the whole thing. Now I'm gonna mark 1 inch or 1.5 inch away from my center back, like so. All right, depending on how open you want it to be. I'm gonna link that point to my armhole. It's my pattern master, like this. Okay, so I'll just close this. We don't need that part anymore. Then for my shoulder tip here, I'm gonna link it to the dart line here on the side. Find the middle of the dart there. Then from the picture, you can see that the back pattern is actually longer than the front. Okay, so now I'm going to get an extra pattern paper. I'll be joining with my masking tape. Okay, so that the back pattern is slightly longer, but the side seam is going to be the same thing. So I'm just marking that. So that when I want to construct, I would not forget the location of the side seam for the back. Okay, so I'll just join with my masking tape like this. Okay, but make sure you take note of where the original hemline stopped before joining the masking tape. It's very important. Now I'm going to extend this line. Okay, now this is my center back. Okay, now where the joining of the masking tape is, this point here, that is where my original hemline stops from. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to extend the center back, the length. Okay, now in the original picture, the extension is really long, like almost 8 inches, but I'm working with the amount of fabric I have, so I'll just extend this by 4 inches. Okay, and link it back to the shoulder tape. But you could actually make yours longer. Like I said, it is a concept that is very important, not copying the style exactly. So I'll just link the extended part here, okay, to the shoulder tip over there. All right, so don't forget the extension is coming from the dart leg. Okay, now I'll just link this like so, like that. Then you have to link that extension back to the side seam, to the side, so that by the time you place front and back patterns together, they are going to be equal at the side. Very important, please. Okay, so this is the only part we need. We're going to be cutting out the part that we don't need anymore. Okay, so I'll just do that so that we don't get confused in case we have newbies or beginners in our midst watching this tutorial. So you can see the way I'm cutting it out. So this is my new back pattern, and we're going to be having two of this. So I've cut out the other part, and then on this other side of the pattern, I'll also be taking this off. So after cutting off, when you're transferring to your fabric, you're going to be adding 1/2 inch seam allowance to all the sides except the side seam that we already added 1 inch to, 1/2 inch round, and you'll be cutting 2 of this. So let me just quickly get the front pattern and then place it side by side so that we can get a picture of what I've been trying to say since morning. Okay, so this is it. You can see that front and back are same at the side. It's just the back that is extended. Okay, I have transferred my fabric to my fabric, I beg your pardon. do not forget to add all your seam allowances, please. Now I decided to use 2 different colors for the back pattern so that we have it looks better. Now this is the first one and then the second one. So as a guide, when you're placing it, just remember that the extended or the longer part is going to be the one at the center back, yeah, and then you place them. So now I'll go ahead to sew my shoulder together, 1/2 inch front and back. Now I've done that already, and I also went a step ahead to turn with bias tape. So I'll just explain what I've done already. Now this is my side seam. I didn't touch the side seam yet, but every other part of the top, the neckline, the armhole, the extension into the center back, I use my bias tape to tape everything round except the side seam, which I will go ahead and join later. So you can see, let me open it up. You can see, yeah. So the neckline, the extension into the center back, the armhole, the neckline in front, every extension except for the side seam. It's only the side seam you're not going to be turning with bias, okay? You have to finish sewing that first before you use an overlocker to turn it, or you could use roll them to roll the rough edges in. Just use any method that is okay for you to clean up the rough edges. Now this is my side seam. For this side, I will be joining 1 inch, and then the other side I'll also cross it like this, and also join with 1 inch on this other side. Sorry, I didn't know the camera did not capture the other side, but you have to just bear with me. But at least you understand what I'm saying. It's all the same thing. Then when I'm done, I would use bias to also turn the hemline. But let me go ahead to sew the side seam first. Okay, so this is it. This is the lower part. This is the other side. Okay. Alright, so I'm done sewing. I've used my bias tape to turn everything, even the hemline. Now, I forgot to mention one very important detail, the darts. Yeah, so I have sewn the darts on one side. Then I left the other side for me to explain to us. All you do is you place the pattern on the fabric like this. Actually, you ought to have done this before joining, but no problem. Then use the tracing wheel to trace out the dart from the pattern to the fabric. Even if you're using paper tracing wheel, it will still show, okay? So the dart is already showing. You go ahead to the sewing machine and then sew the darts. Same thing for the other side here. So let me just go and do that. Okay, so this is the final outcome. This is the back. And of course, the front. Yeah. So please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Give this video a thumbs up and please leave your comments. Thank you.